In a high-stakes diplomatic move this December, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and US President Donald J. Trump are preparing to meet in Washington, reportedly on December 29, to discuss what both sides describe as the difficult second phase of a US-backed ceasefire and stabilization plan for Gaza. The meeting, announced by the Israeli government earlier this week, comes as Israel and Hamas appear poised to move beyond the initial phase of their October ceasefire and negotiate the contours of what comes next: governance, security, and the future of Gaza itself. According to senior Israeli officials, the first phase of the ceasefire plan is effectively nearly complete. Under its terms, Hamas released the last remaining Israeli hostages. In turn, Israel withdrew its forces to a ceasefire line, though it remains in control of significant parts of the Gaza Strip. Prime Minister Netanyahu has indicated that the next phase must include the disarmament of Hamas and the installation of a post-war governance framework in Gaza. Still, key questions remain unresolved. Who will govern Gaza and how? What role, if any, will an international security force play? Will Hamas be dismantled entirely or allowed a residual political presence? These are among the issues slated for discussion in Washington. The initiative moving into its second phase reflects a US-mediated ceasefire plan adopted by the UN Security Council on November 17. The plan envisions a gradual disengagement by Israeli forces, the disarmament of Hamas, and the deployment of an international stabilization force in Gaza. But while Israel has pulled back significantly, Prime Minister Netanyahu has expressed skepticism, particularly about whether Gaza will actually come under effective international oversight or security control. He has indicated that parts of Gaza may remain under Israeli security influence, citing concerns over long-term stability and the threat posed by Hamas. Meanwhile, governments in Europe, including that of Friedrich Merz, the German Chancellor, have publicly urged swift action, calling for both Phase 2 and an eventual Phase 3 of the plan to move forward without delay. As Merz put it, Phase 2 must come now. The planned meeting between Netanyahu and Trump, scheduled for December 29, has drawn significant attention from world capitals. According to a government spokesperson in Jerusalem, the White House will host the Israeli leader to review the next steps in Gaza planning. Topics on the agenda reportedly include finalizing the oversight and governance structure for Gaza, setting out disarmament terms for Hamas, including verification and enforcement, establishing the mandate and composition of an international stabilization force, who controls it, how it operates, and under what mandate, defining a timeline for Israel's further withdrawal and for implementing security guarantees. The December 29 date is symbolic and tactical. For Israel, it offers a chance to lock in international support ahead of potential regional backlash. For the US, it provides a window to shape a peace process that has wide geopolitical implications across the Middle East. Observers note that while Phase 1's success was tangible hostages freed, Israeli forces retreated, Phase 2 poses far greater challenges. Disarmament of Hamas, with deep roots in Gaza's social fabric and security apparatus, will be difficult to verify and enforce. Moreover, the question of who governs Gaza, if not Hamas, remains deeply divisive. There are also lingering doubts about whether international actors will commit real resources and legitimacy to a stabilization force, especially given the growing fatigue and political fragmentation surrounding Gaza. Some analysts worry that without a credible and long-term security presence, any ceasefire could collapse. In Jerusalem, too, there is domestic tension. Critics argue that relinquishing control to outside forces could compromise Israel's security, especially if someone removed from the war, Hamas, retains influence. Others warn that failing to offer a credible political and humanitarian alternative could reignite civilian suffering and fuel a return to violence. For Palestinians in Gaza, the upcoming decisions could determine whether they see ceasefire as a path toward recovery or a prelude to a prolonged limbo. For Israelis, the move from active warfare toward stabilization carries risks and promises: the possibility of reduced conflict, but also the challenge of ensuring security without perpetual occupation. For the US, the Washington summit is a test of influence. Can it broker a lasting ceasefire? Can it assemble allies willing to commit to Gaza's stabilization? And will they follow through? The December 29 meetings will shape not only what happens in Gaza, but how the region and the world interpret the very meaning of ceasefire, governance, and post-war recovery. Whether the Gaza Stabilization Agreement includes a verifiable mechanism to disarm Hamas and prevent a re-arising military threat. Composition and mandate of any international force, who leads it, who monitors it, and under what rules of engagement. Political governance of Gaza, civilians, technocrats, international administrators, or something else entirely. The responses of regional actors, Egypt, Qatar, Gulf states whose cooperation may be critical for reconstruction, aid, and long-term stability. Humanitarian and reconstruction plans, and whether they accompany the security roadmap or are deferred. As the calendar moves toward the end of the month, the upcoming meeting between Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and US President Donald J. Trump is poised to become a defining moment for the next stage of the Gaza process. The first phase of the ceasefire may have delivered measurable steps on the ground, but the transition into phase 2 carries far heavier political weight, far deeper security complications, and far greater expectations from the international community. What emerges from Washington will influence not only Gaza's security landscape, but also Israel's strategic posture and the broader regional balance. Diplomats and analysts caution that any agreement must reconcile competing demands, Israel's insistence on long-term security guarantees, the need for a credible governance structure inside Gaza, and the role of external actors who may be tasked with enforcing the plan. Much now hinges on whether the mechanisms discussed in Washington can be translated into enforceable realities on the ground. As both leaders prepare for their talks, the decisions they make will shape the stability of Gaza, the trajectory of Israeli-Palestinian relations, and the credibility of international mediation efforts at a moment when the region's future feels especially uncertain.